We are at 2:01. Deborah, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the SSPI-WISE Women in Space Engagement monthly series. We started earlier this year, this fall, to do an every other month open to the public, to the SSPI community, a series of sessions, panel discussions hosted by our one of our working groups. And this month we are pleased to present Women in Launch, and super excited for this one to be sponsored by our STEM outreach working group, which is led by Audrey Peterbaugh, as well as Natalia Larea Brito. And they've done a great job organizing, and we've had a tremendous response and really are happy to see you all here. SSPI, if you're not familiar with that, presumably since you're on the call, you do know who the Space and Satellite Professionals International Group is. And Women in Space Engagement was founded almost 2 years ago, really as a grassroots way for women across our space and satellite community to get together in a very grassroots way to identify and collaborate on some of the top issues that we see in our industry, and particularly in trying to attract more women in industry and government to come together. So we have working groups on STEM and networking and mentoring and creating a sustainable organization as well, as we are small and growing. So I really encourage you, if you're not a member of WISE already, to do so. That comes with your SSPI membership, and also to share with your network so we can grow our community. So I think with that, since we want to save as much time as possible for the actual program, super excited, I'll introduce Audrey. Since I spent a lot of my career in the launch industry, I'm particularly looking forward to this discussion and pleased to see so many women in all parts of our industry. So Audrey, and I should say that I don't think I introduced myself or some of the other members. I'm Deborah Factor. I'm chair of SSPI-WISE in my second year. And I'm also the head of space for Airbus US Space and Defense. So with that, Audrey, over to you.
Hello, my name is Audrey Peterbaugh, and I am a co-chair on the STEM Outreach working group here at SSPI-WISE. Today, I will be fielding your questions, so please direct message me in the chat, and I will keep track of all the questions. I'm sure there will be some excellent ones. And at the end, we will field those to the panelists. But that's really all the housekeeping I have. Everyone, like Tamara said, everyone will be on mute. So it's important if you have questions to type them into the chat to me. And I'm going to turn it over to your panel moderator today, Justina Kosianka. I think I pronounced her name right too. And she will introduce our panelists and tell you why we're here today. So thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Deborah. Yes, my name is Justina Kosiankas, pronounced correctly. And today I'm excited to moderate this Women in Launch panel that we have for you. We brought together a great group of prestigious women to discuss their journey in the space industry, specifically in the field of launch services. And one of the main goals in the STEM outreach group, of which I am a co-chair as well, is to inspire young women and gender minorities to pursue careers in STEM and just build our community further. So I hope that we accomplish that today. And with that, I'm going to start to introduce our panel. So I will start with Tiphaine Louradour, president at ILS, International Launch Services. Tiphaine became president of ILS in March 2020, bringing her wealth of management experience in international business, particularly in the satellite launch industry. Tiphaine's renewed vision for ILS is keenly focused on addressing customer needs. In her short time as president, Tiphaine has moved quickly to streamline ILS operations, reduce costs, and work with the partners to make ILS an integral part of the commercial space industry. Directly prior, Tiphaine served as president of global commercial sales for United Launch Alliance, ULA, where she was responsible for commercial launch services sales, including strategy, business development, and capture management for the Atlas and Vulcan launch vehicles. In her 13 years at ULA, she served in varying capacities in finance, risk management, strategy, and business development. Before her tenure with ULA, Tiphaine was a management consultant for businesses including healthcare and telecom industries. Tiphaine was born in Paris and obtained a degree in general studies in economics and a master's of science in management from Dauphine, I think, University in Paris. She also holds an MBA from the University of South Florida. Thank you, Tiphaine.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it. And yes, Dauphine was close enough. Much easier to say University of South Florida. So I'm super excited to be on this panel today and hope, some of the insights just learn from experience, right? As you have opportunities throughout life, happy to share those with everyone and to hear what everyone else has to share as well, because, you never stop learning. So I'm really looking forward to this next hour together.
Thank you. And to move on, next we have Janice Starzyk, Vice President of Government Operations at Virgin Orbit. Janice joined Virgin Orbit in 2021 to head up government operations and the company's Washington, D.C. office. Her extensive experience and contributions in the space industry include leading the consulting practice at Bryce Tech and more than a decade leading the commercial strategy and market intelligence for launch services providers ILS and ULA. Previously, Janice worked with a range of civil, military, and commercial space industry customers at Futron Corporation. She received her Bachelor's of Science in Foreign Service from Georgetown University, Master of Arts in Economics and International Relations from the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, and a dual degree Global MBA from Tulane University and Universidad ISESI in Cali, Colombia. We're really testing me here.
Sorry.
For more than a decade, Janice has provided community leadership and support to local STEM education programs through the Washington Space Business Roundtable. Thank you, Janice.
Hi, everyone. Obviously, this industry is it's fairly small. You hear some crossover of the bios of just your first two speakers, but Tiphaine and I have worked together. So I'm not even sure where to start. This is it's fantastic to be here. I've been in launch for about 15 years now, and I love it. So I love talking about it, and I love encouraging other people to join. So looking forward to what we get to talk about.
Great, thank you. And next we have Joy Don Carlos, Project Manager, Associate Director at Iridium Satellite. Joy manages the integration and launch of the Iridium satellites and the Iridium GMDSS service for global maritime safety. Joy has 25 years of launch vehicle and satellite experience in engineering, mission integration, and project management. She started her love affair with the aerospace industry when getting her pilot certificate at the age of 18 and then her Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering. Joy progressed through manufacturing and design engineering at McDonnell Douglas and Boeing into mission integration engineering on the Delta IV launch vehicle program. She subsequently brought her experience into her role as satellite systems engineer at General Dynamics. She continues to bring her passion and enthusiasm for the space industry every day to her teams at Iridium Satellite. Thank you, Joy. Oh, Joy, I think you're muted.
You're right, I was muted. Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here, and I'm just honored to be amongst these panelists, so thank you.
Thank you. And for our final panelist, we have Saharna Safari, founder and COO at SpaceRide. Saharna is, as I mentioned, founder and COO of SpaceRide. She brings a decade of experience into operations and product launch from highly regulated industries to SpaceRide. She loves that every day is different and is on a mission to make SpaceRide a global success. Saharna has an MBA from UC Berkeley and a Master's of Science from the University of Waterloo. Thank you, Saharna.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here joining you from Toronto, Canada, and building a launch vehicle here.
Great, let's get started with our questions. So to start the discussion, can all of you, any of you, provide an overview of your company's activity and your job? What does your day-to-day, what does your day-to-day job entail?
Okay, I guess everyone has muted themselves, so I'm going to start. So being the COO means that I am in charge of everything and anything that is not directly designing the launch vehicle or testing it, but everything else. So if we have a launch campaign, my team and I are making sure that it's going flawlessly. All the parts that engineers need, supply chain management is through us. Making sure that the company has money and is moving in the right direction, all that goes through me and my team. The day-to-day is very different. It depends on whether I can keep to my schedule or I have to put out fires. Not literal fires, but some fires that happen. And that comes with being founder of a relatively small company. And so, yeah, that's what I do in terms of what SpaceRide is doing. We are building a transportation system for on-demand transportation of things between Earth and Moon and back to the Earth, as well as everywhere in between. We are building a network of rockets. These rockets are going to be completely different than the traditional rockets, where you launch them and it's after the mission is over, they're done, or some parts of them can come back to the Earth. These rockets, SpaceRide rockets, stay in space and can continuously move, get refueled in space, move to further locations, move things around within space and come back to the Earth. Building a network of rockets between the Earth and the Moon would allow us to have the on-demand delivery system that we so love and enjoy here on Earth through Uber and Amazon and all sorts of other companies, to bring that to space. So as we are developing factories in space, as we are developing hotels in space, the needs of these by delivering raw materials, by taking the material back to where it needs to go, or by giving service to space tourists, these are going to be the transportation infrastructure that we need in space, and SpaceRide is building that.
Great, thank you. Please, any of the other panelists, please support.
Okay, I'll jump in. So this is Tiphaine again, and I love the fact that, sorry, I hope I pronounced that right, but shared that you were calling it from Toronto. I actually just landed this morning in Argentina, visiting my daughter. So, I mean, and I highlighted because that's what space is. Space is even on Earth, right? We are all over. It's global, and that's a part I love about this industry. So ILS, it's a launch service provider. Our main goal is to work with our customers to find the best launch solution that meets their mission and program requirements. And ILS is specifically tasked with the marketing, sales, contract negotiations. It's a part of the business that I love. And then mission management all the way through launch. The day-to-day activities are really two main aspects that I see, and no one day is ever the same, which is also something that gets me up in the morning every day. And there's an internal aspect of leading a team, running a business, and the external aspect, equally enjoyable, which is just the interactions with the overall industry stakeholders, whether they're insurers or conferences, things like that, and learning about new businesses and new developments, and then our last but definitely not least our customers. So really two aspects to my job. And that's one thing I found to be a really good fit for me. I like to be involved on both sides. Thank you.
All right, I can go next. So I work for Virgin Orbit. Virgin Orbit is an air launch company. So we launch a 2-stage rocket off the wing of a 747, which also makes it an incredibly mobile launch service. So we are in the middle of a launch campaign in Cornwall in the UK right now, which is our first international spaceport. That said, so my job is as the Vice President of Washington Operations. That means means different things on different days, but essentially it means overseeing our interaction with the policy establishment, the US government and foreign governments, our interactions in DC in general, on the Hill and different parts of the US government and embassies as well. NASA, business development and customer management, and a lot of international government work as well. So, you know, as Tiphaine said, there is no, this is what I'm going to do today. Oftentimes I don't know what the rest of the day is going to look like at noon. But that's what makes it fun and exciting, and you're constantly doing different things. Over my time in launch, there are so many things that have been completely unpredictable, of opportunities I've had or research I've done or people I've met. That's really what makes the industry so much fun and makes it a constant challenge and learning experience. So it feels like even though you're selling one thing or, you know, sticking with one product for a long period of time, it's constantly evolving and changing, and the customer base is as well. So that makes it pretty fun.
Guess I'll go last. My company is Iridium Satellite. We have a constellation up right now that's 75 satellites currently. We have 66 of them operational, and then we have some spares on orbit and some spares on the ground. And we're going to launch most of our ground spares next year. As the launch manager, I meet with launch service providers, negotiate contracts with them, also review analyses from the integration with the launch vehicle providers, and just a lot of meetings and planning and travel, but it's super fun. That's about it.
Well, there's one common thread, is that every day is different, never gets old. That's great, thank you. So I think this order works, so let's keep with it. I will be asking everyone, what led you to this industry? Why did you choose to work in space broadly, but launch specifically, apart from another tech or engineering sector?
So my story is funny because I was working in different sectors of healthcare industry, pharma, biotech, life sciences, medical devices for over 10 years. And the main thing that they have in common with space is that they are all very highly regulated. Besides that, and having to work with the regulators to ensure that you can move forward, and do it in a safe way, there isn't anything else that is basically common ground. But my co-founder and husband, Sohrab, who's our CEO, space was always his passion. From the time that we started dating 16 years ago, he always talked about space, and while he was doing his PhD. And sometimes, to be honest with you, my mind would wander off because some of the things that he was explaining, I wasn't understanding. And then I would have to say, focus. He's talking about something serious for him. That's the dating world, right? But anyways, so I knew a little bit from him talking so passionately about space, but at some point, because I had a small child, I was just helping him get the space right off the ground on the business side of things. And I wasn't working because of my small child. And at that time, it became apparent that we have complementary skills and it would be interesting to work together. For me, what was important was the effect that a space company can have on life of people globally. And if you think about it, also in the world of healthcare, pharma, and medical devices and so on, the effect can be major. And I have found that I'm attracted to work that actually has a grand effect on more people, and realizing how much we are using space data from satellites in our day-to-day life, from the time that we get out of bed with our phones to get out and use maps to navigate. It just brought to me this feeling of, I want to be part of this. I want to make this industry grow. I want not launch to be a bottleneck. And so that was what convinced me to be part of this and be a co-founder with very, very, very little space knowledge at that time.
Well, you had what you needed, and it sounded like you took your partnership to the next level, and that's great. Thank you. Tiphaine.
I always appreciate these types of events, but also just meeting people that I've never met before, because it never ceased to amaze me, and it's happened over and over, to realize how often we have more parallels in our lives than and how much more connected we are than one might think. Because I'm going to echo some of what was just said. I actually started my career, my first decade was not in the space industry. I was a consultant for a couple of large consulting firms, and I worked in publishing, healthcare, and telecom. So all highly regulated. I fully concur with that comment. And the fact that, so the opportunity I had, I stumbled, and I was fortunate to stumble upon this opportunity to join a company in a finance role, which is also something I like to highlight. Well, the 2 points of, you do, and it's great, people that were passionate, since a young age, and they knew since they were little, I'm going to do this, and whether it's astronaut, but then evolved to other things in space. I feel I definitely did stumble more upon it, and I am so grateful for it. But I like to also point out the fact that I didn't have a science background. It was through, the business side and finance. And unlike the other industries, even though I did enjoy my experiences there, I like to say I fell into it, and I fell in love, and I never left it. And I'm not planning on that. So it's, and I think the other common element is that you do have a greater sense of purpose. And perhaps that's what became very obvious to me as I joined this industry, is that, space isn't just for the scientists and the people that are, doing research for outer worlds and all that. I mean, it's that too, but it's also to help and enable, everyone here on Earth, regardless of where you're at. And then there are a lot of connections, when I start to see, I worked in wireless, specifically in the telecom industry. And, so I'm not at all surprised to see the connections that are being made now, again, linking the two, whether it's with T-Mobile or other companies that are starting from scratch in those areas. It makes sense to be connected. And there's a lot of things that we can connect with these other industries, like healthcare. There's a lot of things I think we're going to be able to make some significant advancements with further research in space. So it's, I guess you can tell I do love it. I'm passionate about it. And right there, I can see that we have, we've never met, but clearly some parallels. So I get that journey for sure. Thank you.
So, similarly started in other industries. I was an industry analyst for several years doing some sides of energy and telecom. And back a long time ago, and I see Andrea on my screen. Hi, Andrea. I got a call to work for a space industry consulting firm called Futron, and I was dangled the carrot of getting to work for Andrea later and getting to learn from her, and it was a big draw. And 5 years of that was like getting a grad school degree in the space industry. You got to just get a big picture sense of how the industry works at different levels and meet tons and tons of people. And I was recruited out of there to the launch side sort of accidentally, and went over to ILS and was pretty much hooked. So yes, not a technical person, don't have degrees in science, but I have multiple degrees in international relations and economics, and I use them every day. and I think in launch you definitely pull on those quite a bit. The network within the industry and space in general is very tight. It's a very small community, even though it is thousands and tens of thousands of people. You do get to work with the same folks. You get to know folks. It becomes more supportive and familial than it is in other industries, and most of us can say that because we've worked in them, and that's one of the reasons why space has been such a grabber, and it's hard to leave because it's like one big family, and you do end up really making friends in a way that it makes it hard to leave. You know what you're doing, you love what you're doing, and you love who you're doing it with, and that's what continues to be a driver.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it is like a small community, and you do end up, because you have to work through so much, and you become bonded with those people. You see them on the next project and the next project, and it's pretty cool. I started out loving math and science, and I loved flying. So I started out flying airplanes, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go into the airplane industry. Probably gonna do that. And nope, that didn't happen. I started with McDonnell Douglas. I started working there because of the location in California, in Huntington Beach. I thought that would be so cool by the ocean. And then I just started working in the launch vehicle industry, never looked back, and I love it. And I think I actually love it more than I would have if I, gone into airplanes. So it's my favorite thing to do, and I don't think I would ever change, even if I could. Yeah.
That's great. I think it's so cool how the journey that everyone takes to get into space. It's always a little bit windy. Well, on that topic, Tiphaine, you already started to get at this, but what are you most excited about in addition to everything you already said? And this is a question for everyone. What are you excited about in the space sector, in launch, or in your specific, portion of the field you, I guess, inhabit?
Well, I'm excited, and I love a lot of things. I'm a very passionate person. But when it comes to launch, it's really it's the end of one thing and the beginning of another. And I love that because, the end of one thing is it's usually a couple of years for a team to go, you have to sell, you market it, you sell it, you have to procure all the goods, you have to build the rocket, right? And then all the mission management that goes with that, and then you take it to launch. And then there are some activities after that, right? Your launch mission may be done, but the customers, they're waiting to, get the first signal on their satellite, to deploy the solar arrays and antennas, which sometimes can be, well, when you have what is it, 8-meter long antenna. I mean, it's or solar array. It's impressive. And it's the beginning for the customer of being able to finally execute on their, business plan with that satellite, and customers having access, and then those customers providing services. So I can go on, right? I can probably tie it to other industries on both ends. But it's really a defining moment in that scheme of things. So that's one thing that's that I really enjoy specifically about launch. In space, what I'm most excited about these days is seeing all the new technologies and the new ideas, the new business models that we're seeing to enable, these next level of technologies. And I'm happy to see that. Thankfully, some of these are coming up a lot faster than they used to, right? The cycles are a lot quicker. The iterative process that once was thought only to be good for, coding, for example, you're seeing that, and a lot of that, SpaceX did bring that to the table. So space I'm sure has always been exciting, because, I also look back at, and, when you look at documentaries or movies, and you see the scientists on the huge boards, right, with chalk, like writing the formulas. And so it's, I'm sure it was exciting in a different way. This is where the excitement I see today and observe. So I love to read about the new startups and the ideas that, with that though, you do get a greater sense of responsibility too. We talked about it earlier on, how space has such an impact on Earth. And that's another element that I think we do a better job of today, to say, yes, it's not, scientists are critical. Obviously, none of this would happen, if it was not for them. But there's also a responsibility and a role to play in communicating that to others who are not in space, for them to realize that, yes, your cell phone is, GPS means it's a satellite in the sky. It's not just something on Earth only, that enables that service, so that everybody really sees that themselves, whether they're in the space industry or not, have a connection to it and how it makes our lives better. And the final point I'm also happy to see that I'm seeing, or at least there's more talked about, our responsibility for sustainability. So yes, it's been talked about on Earth for some time, our responsibility to this planet, but also seeing that let's not repeat, let's learn from the lessons of the past, or even of today's world. And let's make sure that we take responsible, and that's a lot of the governments working together, a lot of international cooperation in making sure that we keep our space clean and usable, sustainable for the future.
So we touched on it a little bit, but launch is just, it's an enabler of the space industry. It's, we're not necessarily trying to claim anything more than that. We're enabling other people to do things in space. That said, a bus enables you to get to work, or a car, or train. People just don't get as excited about those things as they do about rockets. And there's something that comes along with that. So there's a disparate amount of investment that goes into launch, versus particularly when you're talking about returns on that investment. There's just a disparate amount of interest in it. And with that comes excitement. With that comes an impact, right? So I could use Spaceport Cornwall as a good example, but there's something about launch and being able to do things from your country or your region or your state or your whatever, and being able to see it and experience it, that changes the way that you view space in general. UK has had a space industry, especially on the small satellite side, they've been a leader in that area, and they've been participants in all of the European space programs all along. But bringing launch to that country for the first time is changing the way people look at space. And the spaceport they chose in general is, you know, in a fairly remote part of the country that was lacking industry. And the spaceport for them becomes a catalyst. And that spaceport is bringing in all sorts of space business to a region of England that didn't have any high-tech industry. It's creating jobs. It's added, you know, 50 new companies to the area. We personally, as Virgin Orbit, have touched over 10,000 students in the area through different STEM programs associated with the spaceport. This is what makes this part of the industry so much fun and what excites me the most, I think. To Joy?
I guess I'll go next. I forgot what the question was, but what was the question?
What you're most excited about in space, preferably, but talk about anything.
Oh, regarding launch, the thing that I'm most excited about recently is because we got to launch our most recent satellites on the Falcon 9 for, you know, SpaceX, the reusability aspect of that and the progression that has been made there. And, you know, it's good because you're not taking all the resources out of the environment and reducing things, but it's also good because it costs less. It costs less to get there. And so that I think is really exciting because it opens up opportunity for other businesses that wouldn't otherwise be able to close their business groups. And that opens up things that we can have and do as people. So that's what I'm excited about now.
And I go last. I am excited about our future on Earth, because of what we can do in space. And as Janice pointed out, launch is an enabler. There are many companies that have raised billions of dollars that are planning to do amazing things in space. There are factories planned in space. There are biolabs planned in space to grow heart from stem cells, so we don't have to wait for heart donors on Earth. There are, you know, so many different things, mining precious metals and you know, making things the best quality of fiber optics and electronic chips in space. These are things that are going to affect our lives on Earth significantly. And if on the sustainability point, if we ship a lot of the dirty manufacturing and mining and those things off to space, we are going to save the Earth as well. The future is really exciting, and what space is going to enable us to do is what makes me going on a day-to-day basis, because there are sometimes things that happen that you feel like, oh, why is it going this way? Why is it not smoother ride? And having that big picture of, this is what we are enabling, this is what we are working for, this is what my contribution is going to be to the world, is making me excited and making me keep moving forward. And now there are other industries looking to use space. Their marketing is looking to put billboards in space. Pharma, as other panelists pointed out, are looking to do R&D in space. The space microgravity provides such a unique environment, so we can utilize it for a better life here on Earth. And I'm right now violating someone's trademark, but maybe multiple companies' trademarks. But what I'm saying is, this is what makes me excited and go day by day, is to work towards a future for everyone on Earth that is going to be a better future.
That's great, thank you. So one last reminder to the audience, please send your questions to Audrey Putterbach in chat. And my final question to the panelists is, what advice would you give to the audience, those on the call, that would be interested in pursuing and growing a career in space?
Okay, I'll go. and obviously this may not apply for everyone, right? But I think these are some of the things I either learned along the way or wish somebody had shared with me. So I hope it resonates. But the first one is, even though I think through the panelists, you can see that we all had a bit of a different journey, and it wasn't, you know, a lot of times I think people think that it's a straight up, okay, I'm going to do this, and well, really kind of more looks like, you know, it's life. And you have both personal things going on and changes in your life over a career of, you know, 20, 30. So, but to have a plan, to have a general idea of where you might want to head, and yeah, having some steps along the way, but to remember to keep that, at least as a recommendation, to keep it fluid, because having that plan as a baseline, but not necessarily being hard set on it, will allow you to see opportunities that come along the way that you probably
Tiphaine, we're having a small technical difficulty with your sound.
I can go next.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Janice.
I think sort of building on what Tiphaine said, but I look at it a little bit differently. I can't say I've planned out my career, because I haven't. It's been a lot more opportunity and things that I've built upon. That said, it's not all luck, right? It is about setting yourself up for those opportunities and making sure that you are thinking about how you approach things as a way of leading to the next thing, and a way of giving you knowledge and experience that will help you in doing other things. So it's being open-minded in a way of being able to sift through the opportunities that come your way and figure out what might work best for you, but also creating those opportunities for yourself and how you approach your career.
Should I check? Am I back or should I wait?
You're back.
Here you know.
Okay, there you go. That's the connection for you. Even though I'm happy my trip was uneventful. So, yeah. So it tied inside. I'm not sure where it interrupted, but I echo it, similar to what Janice was saying. The one thing that I know I've had to be really aware of as opportunities presented themselves, especially ones that I didn't necessarily think about. So have an open mind, and don't let that little voice, at least I have a voice in my head sometimes that's like, that says, well, or, you know, I look at people that were in similar positions and I always thought, okay, I'm not there yet. Or so there's always risk in taking, whether it's an opportunity or taking that next step. But I would encourage everyone to put that voice aside, and yes, be prepared. You know, take stock of what you do know, take stock of what you don't know, try to fill those voids, whether online research, learning, you know, reaching out to people, and ask for help for the parts that you don't know how to do, or you don't know how to gain that knowledge. Because I think you can see through just here in the panelists that, you know, we want to share, we want to help, we want to make it easier for the next generation, and you'll have challenges, but think about building that network and having mentorship as early on as possible. I think those elements are really important. I didn't have mentors until very late in my career, and I certainly wish I had done that before.
Yeah, I agree. I had a lot of mentors. I had some really good mentors, and I'm really grateful for that. Some were women, most of them were men, but I had a couple of women, and it was great. I loved it. My advice would be, don't be overwhelmed or discouraged by the things that you need to learn to get to where you want to be. Just attack it. Just start learning it. start, you know, you're going to get a degree in something, just do it and get it over with, because you're going to be somewhere in 4 or 5 years from now, whether you go to college or not go to college. And so go to college, be, you know, get your degree, do that work that it takes to get what you want, and be yourself. You don't have to act like anybody else. That's my biggest advice. Because there's only one you, and nobody else can be you. You can't be other people, and just go for it.
I want to share what I went through. So I was a chemist, and then I did a lot of stuff on the biotech, pharma, med devices, life sciences. And I went to get my MBA specifically because I thought that I am going to stay in the healthcare industry, and I wanted to advance faster. And the main thing that MBA gave me, because I was a scientist before, and I had you know, some business skills through experience gained, but I wanted to understand basics. I wanted to understand finance, and I wanted to understand accounting, and I wanted to understand, you know, what are the best practices for negotiations and things like that. But really, my goal was, my initial plan was, I'm going to stay in the healthcare industry. MBA degree is going to make me advance faster. But as everyone pointed out, because I went in with an open mind, I found myself gaining the confidence from the MBA degree more than anything else, that I can say yes to something that I have no experience in doing before, that I have to learn everything about space and space technology from scratch. But I still say yes, and I do it, and I can be successful, and I can move things forward. Saying yes when you feel insecure, when you feel like you don't know a lot, is very important, especially for women. We always have little voices in our heads preventing us from saying yes to opportunities, to different things that were not originally part of our plan, or are not, you know, based on our education or based on our experience. But a lot of times, just saying yes and taking the risk, and then putting your head down and actually gathering the information that you need for that industry, is going to help you advance. Like I bring, because I didn't come from the traditional space background, a lot of the ways that I deal with things is unconventional, but it actually results in a good thing. Like I got the first permit that Canada had issued for launch after 21 years in just 3 months, without any process even being there. Because I worked with regulators on the healthcare side, and I don't take no for an answer. And I started calling anyone and everyone that I knew that could connect me to the right people at Transport Canada, which was the authority to authorize that. So, you know, believe in yourself. Understand that you don't have to have everything. If you don't have a mentor right now, if you don't have the education right now, nothing is preventing you from entering an industry and succeeding in an industry. Just believe in yourself and get it. Say yes to opportunities, and don't let that little voice hold you back.
I think the major theme of this whole panel has been to follow your passions, and then you can work everything out along the way, which I love to hear. This is also a great time to plug the SSPI-WISE mentorship program, that you can be further connected with more individuals in the industry to do exactly as recommended by the panel. Grow and learn what you need just to get to where you want to be. So with that, I want to thank everyone and turn it over to Audrey, who has our audience questions.
Hello. So we do have some great questions in the audience. We're a little bit over time because we wanted to make sure we got this last question in for you guys to answer. So we won't have time for very many of the questions, but I do want to throw one out there that Wendy Newman posted, because it was on my list of things that I wanted to know anyway. And she says, none of you have talked about the excitement of launch itself. Isn't it going to the launch site and seeing a rocket take off an exhilarating experience? Do any of you have any fun stories about things that happened at a launch base? So what's your best launch story for us?
I have a quick one. The first time I went, first of all launches are amazing and unique. I'll start with that. I mean, the heart races and it's absolutely amazing. The first time I had the opportunity, it was a recognition award to attend a launch. I was in finance, so I was not involved with any of the activities that you could say are close to the rocket itself. And it happened to be a night launch. And I took a video and I thought, great, I am sending this to everybody I know. And, I'm going to post it wherever, social media. And then thankfully, I played that video before posting it. And every probably half second, you could hear me say, oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. So I ended up never posting the video because it was really, I sent it to my family, but that was it. And the second piece was because it was a night launch. The visual I still have of it is it felt like every time the rocket, went through, it was cloudy. Every time it went through a cloud, it was like somebody turning on a light switch in a room and it would just lit up the sky. And that is just, I still have goosebumps just thinking about it. And it was some time ago. So that's, it was unbelievable. And every launch thereafter, the same. It's amazing.
I'll just add, launches are cool and we still give up lots of sleep because they all tend to happen at the worst time and fun. But I remember one, fly all the way to Baikonur, do all these things. And then it was so foggy, you couldn't see a damn thing. And like even the photos, you just get the drops of water in front of you. But even with that, where you couldn't see anything, you felt it, right? So the launch takes off, which you only hear about through the radio. You can't see anything, but 10 seconds later, the sound wave hits you and it's still just as exciting as if you got to see all of it. So everyone is it's an awesome experience.
Joy, I know you've been to a few for Iridium.
Yeah, the most amazing part of it for me, I'm usually in mission control during the launches, so I got to run outside right after it takes off. But the most amazing thing is how you see it take off and you don't hear anything, and then all of a sudden you hear it and you feel it in your chest and that rumble, you feel the rumble, and that's the coolest thing. Yeah, I'm addicted to launching. That's all there is. It's super fun. If anyone hasn't been, I say go to the closest launch base you can and watch one, because you'll never forget it. It's awesome.
It's a good addiction to have.
Yeah. I can't believe I get paid to do this.
I have to say, I love watching other companies' launches. I do not love watching our launches. I'm usually also in the control room. Our system is different in the sense that we use a balloon to go above 99% of the atmosphere. So it's actually the first leg of the flight is a high altitude balloon launch and not the rocket itself. The rocket is attached to it, but there are, and you might think that, why am I not enjoying it? It's really the stress and the nerves of what if something, all the unknown unknowns, what if something goes wrong and it's, it doesn't happen. What if, safety is important for your staff. I just feel responsible for everyone that is there. And that responsibility is too high for me at that time to enjoy it. So when we had our first launch in 2019 out of North Bay, Ontario in Canada, I didn't get to actually take even a picture of the balloon and the rocket until it was very far away. into the sky because my nerves were like, okay, nothing happened. Everything went well. But it's a great feeling afterwards. And the balloon part is so peaceful that, you know, once it lifts off and nothing bad has happened, then I'm happy.
Awesome. We are right about the time. Oh, Tiphaine, did you have something else?
If it's okay, I just wanted to add to something that Joyce said on be true to who you are. I'll share. I do, when I reflect back, realize that I spent a lot of time trying to fit in, or what I thought the expectations were. And I like to say, and I tell this to my kids, girls and boy, not every day, but I remind them, you know, be true to yourself, which is what Joy said. Being someone else is exhausting. And we only have so much, especially as you gain an experience, to say it nicely. You know, your energy is you have to take stock of that and make sure you spend it wisely. So I really, really want to encourage everyone to really keep that in mind and check in with yourself and make sure, find an environment that suits you. And of course, we all have things we can improve, right? So it's not saying don't change, but find an environment that suits you and a position, a job, you know, a project that excites you, because life is short and everybody has a different perspective, a different experience, a different, you know, degree, and we need all those perspectives brought to the table so that we can continue to grow the space industry the way it has. And that's really a strong, you know, again, perhaps because I spent a lot of energy in that earlier on in my life, I'll say. So it's almost a plea. People, bring who you are, bring your own talents, your own perspectives, and we can't afford to leave anything, you know, off the table. What we do is hard, and making sure we get to the best answer, best solution quickly is having everybody bringing their perspective. So I just wanted to add to that.
Thank you. This has been an amazing discussion today. I want to thank you all for joining us, for sharing your passion for space and your journeys, the stories about your journeys. I do have to turn this back to Tamara now so that she can do a little bit of housekeeping at the end. Oh, and we did have a comment, just real quick. We did have a comment from Anna Rodriguez. She's part of CAGIS, which is the Canadian Association for Girls in Science. And she would love to have all of our panelists as CAGIS virtual, or as guest experts for CAGIS virtual sessions. So I'll send that information to you guys if you're interested. That would be amazing.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, this has been really wonderful. And yeah, I have no words. Thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you to STEM Outreach for organizing this panel session. I'm going to do this really quick because apparently I have 1 minute left. so I'm going to do this very, very quickly. First things first, we will be posting this as soon as we can. Obviously, there's some cleanup to the video that we'll have to do, but as soon as possible, we will post this to the SSPI website. So if you go to the SSPI site and you click under membership, you will see SSPI-WISE, and click there and you'll find all the information about SSPI-WISE. Past sessions are posted there as well. Please do check us out. If you are a member of SSPI, go into your profile and click, yes, I want to be on the SSPI-WISE mailing list. If you are a member of SSPI-WISE and you're not a woman, you can click that you want to be on the mailing list as an ally of SSPI-WISE. Please do so. If you're not a member of SSPI, go to www.sSPI.org/join. Everybody should be a member, seriously. Okay, last thing I want to say is I want to really thank profoundly Virgin Orbit for sponsoring the conversation of which this session is a part, which is the Opening the Final Frontier campaign that's currently underway. Janice just gave us a really great highlight or preview of a conversation that will continue on next week, talking about the rise of the spacefaring nations. Janice, I'm stealing it. I promise I'm stealing some of that for next week, because that was amazing to hear about. Join us. That will happen Tuesday at 11 o'clock Eastern. And that information is on the SSPI-WISE, SSPI website. Last but not least, SSPI-WISE meets every month. Every other month is a public meeting like this one, but next month will be a closed meeting for the women of the industry. They talked about mentorship. One of the ways that we mentor each other is by getting to know each other. So come on out, join us next month. The time and date will be slightly different. It's normally the 4th Thursday, but it will be the 3rd Thursday. Obviously, we moved it to 3rd Thursday this week because of Thanksgiving next week, and similarly next week, next month, Christmas will happen. So it'll be the 3rd Thursday on the 15th at 11 a.m. Come on out, be with the women of the industry, hear what SSPI-WISE is doing, and get to know everybody. With that, thank you all for being here.